Dear Gouldians, nice to meet you. Glenn continues to make interviews, not only to the friends and colleagues of Glenn Gould, but also with fans around the world. We are so happy to introduce a legendary pianist from the event Happy Birthday Mr. Gould 4th edition. I would like to introduce him by the word of a legendary artist.
Mike Garson, ladies and gentlemen.
Mike Garson. Mike Garson on piano.
A warm welcome to Mike Garson. Hello, Mike.
Hello, I'm so happy to be with you, and even though we're separated by 5,000 miles or more, it's wonderful to be able to see you and at least communicate in these crazy, crazy times.
But first of all, thank you very much for being with us today, for celebrating the genius of Glenn Gould. Your career is extraordinary, and you have worked with a lot of greats of music as Smashing Pumpkins, Nine Inch Nails, Alicia Keys, and above all, we know you very well for your collaboration with Mr. David Bowie. But besides rock, I know you're a very classical music passionate, and you have a respect for Glenn Gould. And how your passion for Glenn Gould born, and when was the first time you listened to him?
Yeah, this is a very special interview for me because Glenn Gould was somebody that I really admired. I had several pianists as I grew up that were my heroes. Vladimir Horowitz, Arthur Rubinstein, Richter, and for Bach, nobody better than Glenn Gould. I also like two of your Italian pianists, Paolini and Michelangelo, is that it? And they were all wonderful. But for Bach, nobody like Glenn Gould, and when I would hear him play, it just was something that only happens once a century. And I wish we were friends, and I wish I had gotten to know him, but I certainly know him from his playing. And that's about all I can say. So this is not a typical interview for me where everybody's talking about David Bowie and my collaborations, which are wonderful. But this gentleman named Glenn Gould, he's just like one of a kind, and most of our composers that we love are dead. So I'm living as a composer now, and it's just warms my heart to understand the depth of his music, and having written also, which we'll do later, a homage for Glenn.
Yes. But Mike, as a musician, what are the commonalities between the classical music and the rock and pop music from your vision? What do you think about this?
You know, having played with so many rock musicians, the rock musicians, a lot of the songs and compositions were coming from the harmonies of Rachmaninoff, from Bach, from Chopin. They're more so than the jazz musicians. It's a whole other art form, and it's a magnificent art form. But the rock musicians, including the Beatles, including David Bowie, a lot of their inspiration came from the classical musicians, you know, Chopin and Mozart and Bach, because the chord progressions are so beautiful. And to this day, I'm inspired by the harmonies of Beethoven's Hammerklavier, or Goldberg variations, or Chopin preludes, or Liszt. You know, it's endless. You know, I heard you play The Consolation. You know, what a beautiful, beautiful piece.
I love those pieces. And also, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I know you're an amazing classical music composer. And would you like to tell me more about your career as a composer for classical pieces for piano?
I've been composing classical music for over 50 years, but it's sort of nobody cares. It's kind of like,
No,
I mean,
but even you know that Glenn Gould, as composer, was also very underestimated in his life. You know that,
Very.
and his composition were amazing. And I also know you have a beautiful surprise for celebrating Glenn Gould's birthday, who today turns 88, and with a very beautiful composition for the occasion, Mike.
Well, Leonard Bernstein also was a very good composer and not fully understood in his lifetime. And so was Rachmaninoff, you know? And
Exactly.
yes, so I hope I don't have to wait 100 years to be understood, because it's nice to be alive and see see the result. But I'm patient, and the piece that I actually wrote for Glenn Gould was inspired by his performance from the Goldberg Variations, and I wrote it 15 years ago. So to date, I've written thousands of pieces of music. It's what I do, except when I'm touring, you know, and I'm not touring now, so I'm able to write even more. But the love of composition is very deep for me. I was studying when I was 12 years old with a classical Juilliard teacher, and he was teaching me Mozart Sonata in A major, Kerschel 331, you know. And I came in the following week and I changed some of the notes, and instead of the teacher saying, maybe you're an aspiring composer, he said to me, you have delusions of grandeur. And that wasn't a very big compliment, and it threw me off a little bit, but he should have realized that my desire to create my own music was very deep from as early as 12 years old.
That's beautiful and inspiring, because your story is really inspiring. And as I said, you composed this beautiful piece, and I'd be glad, and also our audience, to listen carefully your dedication to Glenn Gould. And thank you very much for this beautiful piece that embodies for sure the essence of Mr. Gould. Thank you, Mike. You capture the inner soul of Mr. Gould. As we said at the beginning, this is a COVID edition, and Glenn Gould loved isolation. And during this terrible period, we faced isolations. What's your relationship with loneliness?
I missed the end of the words. What's
your relationship with loneliness, I think?
the relationship with loneliness?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. You know, you have 5 hours? It would take me 5 hours to explain it. You know, every artist lives in their own world. It's like its own universe. And even though I'm blessed, beyond blessed to have family and beautiful wife for 52 years and 2 daughters and 7 grandchildren, it's when I'm up in the studio composing, you're by yourself. It's kind of in the same way that you're born alone and you die alone, even though you might have the most loved people all around you. And you need to be in your own world to create your inner voice. The question is, I have a more balanced life than Glenn Gould because I have a wife that's there for me through thick and thin. And when you're only by yourself, you could go crazy because your mind can really do some tricks on you. So I know there's a point you have to be careful, and it could get dangerous when you cross the line and you end up, you know, in a mental house.
It's
you know,
true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, but also Glenn was known for his eccentricities, as the chair, scarves, gloves, and of course also isolation, and I have no relationship with women except two or you know, kind of. But what's your eccentricities, if you have one, and who is the most eccentric artist in a good way you work with?
Yeah, you know, I tried for several months sitting very low on the piano stool when I saw that Glenn did it and I understood for the technique. And I did it for many months, you know, and I did improve my tone. At a certain point, I realized playing in the rock world, sometimes I'm standing, sometimes it's an electric piano, sometimes it's a synthesizer. Today, I'm blessed to have my 9-foot concert grand. So I had to overcome that very specific level, sitting so low, and it wasn't working for me, but I did try it out. In terms of eccentric musicians, I mean, Keith Jarrett is a marvelous improvising pianist, and he's kind of eccentric. Sometimes I would go see him in a concert, and I could see his similarities to Glenn Gould also. And sometimes he wouldn't start playing for 2 minutes, and if he heard the audience had a coughing, he would go crazy and stop playing. I know Glenn Gould stopped performing and only worked in the studio. For me, I love to perform, and I love my playing changes based on who is listening. If it's a classical audience, if it's you alone, if it's me playing for myself, if I'm playing for a jazz audience, if I'm playing for a rock audience, because I'm improvising, so the notes find me, and I find the notes, and the audience helps me find them, and the energy, the collective energy of who's in the audience helps to find me, and that's the miracle of music, and that's the miracle of the communication. So I understand why he'd want to be in the studio. I love being in the studio, making the music perfect, and he used to cut the tapes and so many tracks and overdubs. It's imperative as an artist they do that, but it's also very important to go out and reach people and touch their heart, because there is nothing like a live performance, at least from my opinion. But I could understand why you could go crazy traveling on the road and you're in hotels and it's lonely and the sound is terrible and this piano's out of tune. I've experienced all of that in the 5,000-6,000 concerts I have played. But, you know, it's still your job. It's your duty to go out and bring that love and the passion that you have for the music to people, you know. So it's a balance of the two. It's a balance.
Absolutely. But during this, you know, upside down world time we're living in, and we are also experienced quarantine, we have more time to watch film, movies on Netflix or on Amazon. And I was lucky enough to find Mike Garson and his 88 friends, where I can look at you in a different perspective, because you're so passionate with your pupils during your master classes, and I can see you, you know, in a very new dress. And would you like to tell us more about this project and about your master classes for young students?
I've always been teaching since 1963. I've had over 12,000 private piano students go through my different homes, whether I was living in New York or England or Los Angeles. And I love teaching, and I do Zoom lessons now, and I adore teaching, and it's very important for an artist to pay it forward, especially when you get older. So, I love teaching, and I love working with young children and teenagers and people in their 20s. I've given master classes all around the world. I like to share whatever I know, because there are a lot of misunderstandings in music and regarding performance and regarding the music business and regarding how you have a balanced life. And I'm a person, thank God, that never used any drugs, so I'm able to be healthy and still perform at my age. And I've been doing this, you know, my whole life. I've been playing professionally for 60 years and nonstop. And I feel in some ways that I'm just beginning and just warming up, because I supported so many artists, especially David Bowie for so many years, but many jazz artists, Freddie Hubbard, Stan Getz, Mike Brecker, Dave Liebman, Elvin Jones, it goes on. And it's sort of my time now. I was very patient, you know, and now I have an opportunity to express myself and share it and teach it. So if I am teaching a certain amount, not too much, maybe 5 students a week, and if I'm composing every few days, and if I'm performing a little bit, and recording in the studio, I have a nice balance. And of course, the rest of the time with my family, you know.
Yes.
So it's like it's juggling. It's like juggling.
And yes, but this is beautiful to have a great balance between your, you know, work and private life, as I think Gould care very much about. And I was wonder, and I'm curious to know if you have a particular records or a piece played by Glenn Gould that you like most.
Oh. I love listening to Goldberg variations. I was listening this morning. Sometimes I like listening to Mozart Requiem. You know, sometimes I like listening to Rubinstein play Chopin Nocturnes. But many times I'd rather go to the piano and compose and play than listen, especially if I'm depressed. I'm better off playing and composing. That's much healthier for me than just listening.
I'm very happy that you participated in the 4th edition of Happy Birthday, Mr. Gould. At the end of the interview, we say an happy birthday to Mr. Gould together, or a wish would you like to say to our audience today?
Well, you know, I would like to say happy birthday, but I should play happy birthday, right? Or do that afterwards? You want me to play a little happy birthday?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much for this wonderful interview, and see you soon. And we follow you on your website and your social media. I see you're very active around Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you very much again. And Elaine, go back to Alida.
Thank you.
Thank you very much again. And if you like the interview and the program, remember that Nice to Meet You Glenn is an independent project. You can support us on www.patreon.com/themajortv. See you soon for the next interview.